live from Greenville, South Carolina, Shelton Benjamin country. So this is the first SmackDown since SummerSlam. We start the night off by seeing a highlight video of what happened at SummerSlam, set to the really good Jason Aldean song. So the biggest news, or the news coming out of for SmackDown, pertaining to SmackDown coming out of SummerSlam, is Roman Reigns slaying the Beast, retaining the WWE and Universal titles against Brock Lesnar, with Theory unable to cash in the briefcase, meaning it will be Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre in the main event of the next pay-per-view, Clash at the Castle, the first pay-per-view event in Europe in nearly 30 years, where Drew will have the home country advantage in the UK. Also at SummerSlam, the Usos retain their titles, not only at SummerSlam against the Street Profits, but then again on Raw against the Mysterios. Liv Morgan retained her SmackDown Women's title in a confusing fashion, tapping out just before the referee made the 3 count, but the referee gave the win to Liv, which made Ronda snap, attacking Liv and the referee after the match. Liv had her arm destroyed, retained her title, and now Ronda has um, been suspended, with Liv's health in question, and the referee also blowing the call. And then Pat McAfee also beat Corbin, which nobody really cared about. Pat McAfee's loved. I even love Pat McAfee, but who cares about the Corbin match? So after that highlight video, we see an SUV pull up, and the Usos come out by themselves. Now, I've been a little bit busy with stuff. I had lost power for 20 hours, so I'd been dealing with a few things, and I hadn't had any chance to look at the news. I didn't know if Roman Reigns was going to be on the show tonight. I didn't even know what matches were announced. Like, I didn't even have time to make up my usual preview and stuff. But the Usos come out, and it was looking like, oh, they're by themselves. But nope, another SUV, when the camera pans over, reveals Roman Reigns is out there with them. So the full bloodline is in the house, carrying all 6 championship belts. Then Pat McAfee does a long analysis of his win with Corbin, kind of like John Madden style, with the showing this, and this. It lasted a little bit too long for my liking, but at least it just got the Pat McAfee Corbin stuff out of the way. Now we see Corbin, and it set up this next match where Corbin's now in the back, getting laughed at by a crew of people. With Ricochet in the front. I also saw Jinder Mahal, Shanky with a do-rag on, Caleb Braxton, and maybe a few other people were there laughing. But Ricochet comes up to Corbin, and Corbin's not mad, so that sets up a match that'll happen right now. So Ricochet comes down to the ring, and we're just going to get into this SmackDown and go from there. So Ricochet is going to take on Happy Corbin, who comes out next. Not very happy, he's mad. So Ricochet starts the match by evading Corbin's attacks with Ricochet's amazing speed and agility. So we all know that Triple H is now taken over, and things can be different now. Ricochet, at least he had the Intercontinental title, so we can say that he's not just coming out of nowhere while all of a sudden being good like he's supposed to be. If anybody ever watched Lucha Underground, they know that Prince Puma Ricochet is one of the best out there. The crowd loves him. He's got a great entrance. He's got a great look to him, like the whole like coming out with the flipping and the entrance stuff. Just like he looks like a star, but hasn't been utilized as one. And now it looks like in this match, it looks like they're finally another benefactor of the Triple H era, which I wouldn't worry if Corbin was I wouldn't worry if I was Corbin. He was still a product of the black and gold as well. So maybe he can revert from the Happy Corbin character at a point. So let's get into this match. As remember, Ricochet right off the bat showing his great agility to get out of attacks, then kicks Corbin in the face with the ropes and dives on the Corbin outside of the ring. Corbin then evades a top rope attack, slides in and out of the ring, and hits his lariat. Super quick pace to the start of this match. Great way to start SmackDown here, even with a Corbin match. But Ricochet is in the match as well, so it's already been great. Corbin then slows it back down, the pace that he would prefer over Ricochet's fast pace. Corbin hits some back elbows and then throws Ricochet hard into the corner, then hits a big punch and to counter a springboard attack that Ricochet tried to pull off there, but he got a big punch in return. Ricochet then evades the next 2 attacks, hitting a stomp on the apron, then 2 kicks, and Corbin turns it around, sending Ricochet hard into the ring post from the apron. Then we go to an ad break, the first of the night. When we come back, Corbin's in in control with a chin lock of all things. Some things are going to be slow to change or maybe never change in WWE. We come back from a commercial break with a chin lock, of course. The crowd's now cheering big for Ricochet to fight back. I'm guessing Corbin was in control most of the break. Corbin now hits a nasty high angle back body drop, sending Ricochet, and then Ricochet got it was a high, not high angle, but high up into the air. Ricochet went about 10 feet into the air on a back body drop that Corbin did on Ricochet. That was completely amazing. This is also one of the best Corbin matches we've seen in a long time, and you already know it's all thanks to Ricochet. Ricochet pulling off that move, going off 10 feet in the air. That was awesome. So Ricochet then fights back with a high knee strike and a springboard kick, and Ricochet hits a springboard clothesline after that with a standing shooting star press. That was really great flurry there for a 2 count. Corbin now charges in, but Ricochet blocks it with a big boot. Corbin powers Ricochet up, however, and hits a TKO style neck breaker. Ricochet then counters a choke slam attempt with a roll up for a 2 count. So Ricochet staying right in it after that big mistake he had a second ago. Corbin then with a Ricochet hits spinning thrust kicks, but charges right into a deep 6 from Corbin for a 2 count. One of these days, Corbin needs to win a match with a deep 6 so we can actually believe it'll finish a match. It's like the Matt Hardy side effect where it's never going to get the 3 count. So it takes away all the drama. Anyway, let's get back to the match. Corbin almost got the win there, then sets Ricochet up the top rope, which is going to be a mistake here because Ricochet loves the ropes. So Corbin making a mistake there. But Corbin did make a mistake, but uses his power to keep Ricochet there and then eventually knocking Ricochet to the apron. Corbin then gets distracted by Pat McAfee ringside, and this allows Ricochet to come back and hit his version of the code breaker on the knee, the recoil, he calls it. Ricochet then hits a shooting star press off the top rope for the 1, 2, 3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Ricochet. Great match here. Look at this. Triple H back in charge now, and all the people that we love, because the reason we love them is because they are great, and now they're being treated as such. So we've had Ciampa do it on Raw. Now we have Ricochet do it here. There's been multiple other people that have already benefited in the Triple H era. It's a simple thing to do, but Vince was just too hard-headed to treat these NXT stars like anything other than that once they come up. So that's why I'm proudly wearing my NXT black and gold. I got this at a house show in here, not even in Detroit, but more closer to where I live in the suburbs of Detroit. And I've been an NXT fan since the very beginning, and to see everybody get their due, and it continues tonight as we go, and we've seen it already on Raw and stuff. So it's just a great thing. This is definitely a new era. Some things are going to be hard to change, but other things, like as far as who's winning matches, who's getting featured more, are now the favorite people that we fell in love with in NXT. And the whole reason we fell in love with them is because they were good. So this is all great stuff. So let's move on. They show us the end of the Liv and Ronda match and then say there will be a 7 women's gauntlet match to determine the number 1 contender to Liv Morgan's SmackDown Women's title. It'll be Natalya, Aliyah, Shayna Baszler, Sonia Deville, Shotzi, Raquel Rodriguez, and Xia Li. That means no Lacey Evans for the 2nd week in a row. I wonder what's happening with that, and I really never want to see her back. So before we go to an ad break, we see the return of Sami Zayn, who's kind of been missing. Last time we saw him, he had his arm in a little sling, but it looks like it wasn't too bad. He looks fine now tonight. Sami Zayn's knocking on the Bloodline locker room door as we go to an ad break. So this should be good for sure. Sami Zayn's been gone. I've been wondering what's been going on with him. When we come back from break, the door finally opens for Sami, and the Usos greet him with a couple of handshakes and stuff. Sami asks where Paul Heyman has been, and he says home recovering after the attack from Brock. And Sami says, well, I wanted to talk to Roman. And Usos say, well, now's not a good time. We'll text you later, though, Sami. So they close the door on Sami's face, and Sami looks a little bit confused, but definitely has something in mind. So we'll definitely touch in on that later. So now we see even further highlights of the Ronda and Liv match at SummerSlam. I definitely like that match. I saw a lot of hate for it online. It was perfect length of time for me. It was a perfect way to tell this story, especially when you look at the fact that a one-legged Ronda beat Natalya in minutes when Liv couldn't even beat it took her like way longer with completely. So it just made sense. Like the whole match made sense. And maybe Ronda's turned healed, maybe not, but she did attack the referee and live after the match. So we see the replay of that. Speaking of people who might be able to benefit from the Triple H era, Shinsuke Nakamura now comes out, another NXT Black and Gold favorite, of course, from New Japan before that, just like everybody in Black and Gold had a career before that. But you know what I'm saying. After the break, so we're going to go to another commercial break. After that, Shinsuke will take on Ludwig Kaiser in the rubber match. Each man has a victory against each other. Last time, Kaiser got the win thanks to Gunter interference. So if Shinsuke wins this time, he finally gets a shot at Gunter's Intercontinental title next week. So when we come back, we actually get a SmackDown highlight from the year 2000 with Shane McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and Triple H in the ring, and Stone Cold Steve Austin destroys the bus. I believe it was the DX bus, or the DX Express, I should say. So that's pretty cool. Getting to see stuff like that. Triple H putting him, Triple H hasn't quite gotten to the point where he's going to come out to the ring yet. I wonder when that'll happen. That'll be a big moment. But we get to see a little bit of Triple H, Stephanie, and Shane in the ring here in the year 2000. So when Triple H does finally come down to the ring and says something, it's going to be a big moment. And I wonder what show that'll be at. Maybe at in Clash of the Castle for the European fans, having their first pay-per-view in 30 years. That might be a big moment for him to do it, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, now Ludwig Kaiser comes down to the ring accompanied by Gunter, and they start the match with some grappling. This is going to be a good one. So the crowd chants for Nakamura right away, and Ludwig takes control, but Shinsuke turns it around soon after and then says, "Come on." Of course, here Ludwig walks right into a big kick after that. Shinsuke hits a combo now and a leg drop for only a 1 count. Ludwig definitely has some fight left in him, hitting a big punch after that, but Shinsuke turns it right around, again hitting a nasty knee to the ribs. So Ludwig tries to fight back and hits a nice suplex as we go to an ad break here. No picture-in-picture ad breaks on all of SmackDown like we saw on Raw, so that's definitely going to be a difference here. The USA Network allowing picture-in-pictures, however, Fox not allowing picture-in-pictures, so screw Fox on that one. Anyway, when we come back from break, Shinsuke's hitting more strikes now, and that sliding German suplex here. Gunter then distracts Shinsuke long enough for Ludwig to attack from behind, but again, Shinsuke turns it around with knee strikes to the head. Shinsuke tries to hit a Kinshasa now, but Ludwig counters it with a big European uppercut. Then Ludwig hits a suplex for another 2 count. Shinsuke counters the next move with an armbar attempt, but Ludwig is able to counter out of that. Again, Shinsuke won't let Ludwig take control, and Shinsuke Nakamura hits a Kinshasa for the 1-2-3. So your winner and number 1 contender to the Intercontinental title, Shinsuke Nakamura. It'll be him versus Gunter next week for the IC title, which should be a great match. I hope that's the main event, and I hope they give it 20-25 minutes, with like obviously 2 commercial breaks in it, but we still get to see like 18 full minutes of Gunter versus Shinsuke. That should be enough. That should be the kind of thing we start to get in the Triple H era. Maybe the live crowds aren't going to like it, but all of us wrestling fans are going to love if it's a main event of SmackDown next week that's 20 minutes plus, of course, with the commercial breaks, but Shinsuke Nakamura going toe-to-toe with Gunter for the IC title. It should be a great thing, and hopefully Triple H has the power to make that like a main event 20-plus minute match. Should be amazing. Really looking forward to that and how it turns out next week. After that, now we see a recap of the new Vicious Viking Raiders absolutely destroying the New Day in a match where they would normally like to put Big E when they have a big man team to face, but Big E unfortunately out with injury. So they got destroyed last week by the Viking Raiders. And after the Mysterios got their title shot on Raw this week, you'd have to imagine the Viking Raiders are the number 1 contenders to the unified tag titles. So the Usos will definitely have to keep an eye on them. And that was just a little recap, but we'll see more about them later on. So, oh, hey, what's up, bro? Thanks for watching. I will definitely get to the big. Oh, there is some big stuff in the main event to get to. Holy crap, my mind is still blown. I'm still kind of on a high from that. Even though I watched 205 or not 205 live, but Level Up right after that. So anyway, in the back now, right after the Viking Raiders highlight video here, Kofi Kingston is by himself, but fired up. And Kofi says Woods is recovering at home, but in high spirits. It won't be long until he's back. It doesn't matter who takes it doesn't matter how many times the crusty Vikings put us down. We'll keep getting back up. And it was definitely weird to see Kofi here alone. No Biggie, no Woods, definitely. So what's up? Yeah, I could see that happening for sure. I could definitely see that, and winning the Royal Rumble on his way to doing it. It could happen, definitely. I wonder if Triple H will be there for that one. But anyway, yeah, the Kofi was saying that basically he's here to fight still, and he's here for revenge, which probably isn't a good sign because Kofi's all alone. So hopefully maybe Jinder and Shanky still like Kofi Kingston, because we did see that Jinder and Shanky are here in that segment where they were all laughing at Corbin. So after that, Cole now tells us a little bit more about the Liv and Ronda controversy, and then we go after the ad break. Then when we return, then we go to an ad break, and then when we return, Sammy's knocking again on the Bloodline door, on the locker room door, and then the Usos say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we never texted you back. I was just about to." So Usos say, "Hey, we need a favor. We need to make sure Roman Reigns' entrance is perfect tonight." So Sammy says, "Well, it's not really my job, but I'll do it for Roman." So I don't know what this is going to be, but it should be hilarious. But we end up finding out it's not hilarious, but way cooler than that. So just wait till we see what that entails. Anyway, later, Roman Reigns will be addressing number one contender Drew McIntyre before they challenge in a few weeks in Wales, United Kingdom, for the unified title. So in the ring now is Kayla Braxton. She introduces Liv Morgan. This is a very, very interesting segment right here. So Liv Morgan comes out with a soft cast, something like not permanent, but kind of has her arm in a cast right now because of Ronda's attack after the match and during the match too. So the crowd is cheering here for Liv, who did her best to keep the title. It definitely was not her fault that the referee got the wrong call, and it was almost close enough to say that it was a draw. Like, I know that if you have it in super slow motion, but referees would never see anything in super slow motion, and even if the referee saw that it was a draw, Liv Morgan would have retained the title off of champion always keeps the title on a draw. So to me, it's almost like not even a really big deal because it was that close, and you know what I'm saying. So anyway, Liv Morgan then says, "I'm feeling so many emotions right now, but when I look at this title," and then the crowd boos heavily for Liv Morgan and chants, "You tapped out," and I couldn't believe it. I laughed out loud. I was like, whoa, I did not expect that, because I know Liv Morgan has a ton of fans, but apparently the Greenville, South Carolina fans are not part of the Liv Morgan army. So Liv Morgan's getting booed while she's talking. Chance of you tapped out. I did not expect that. So Liv then says, "Oh yeah, it's okay. Call me out." And she says the S word here that Fox bleeps. But then Liv says, like, "Oh, that's why I wanted to come out and talk tonight, because this title means everything to me, and I survived 3 of Ronda's arm bars." And wow, Liv is just can't even say she's stuttering over every word because the crowd is just booing her out of the building. So thankfully for Liv Morgan, Sonia Deville now comes out maybe a little bit earlier than she was supposed to. They might have given Liv pulled her off the stage, like, "Oh, you're drowning out there." So Sonya comes out and says, "Oh, well, you can come out here with all this stuff, and some of the crowd's going to buy it," but clearly most of the crowd is not buying it. So Sonya keeps on saying, "It made me happy to see you get hurt after Ronda got screwed over." And it was just another example of why Adam Pearce sucks at his job. Remember, Sonya Deville got fired as Adam's co-manager or whatever, GM. So then Sonya weirdly says, "Now that I'm standing close to you, I can say I love seeing you hurt even more," which was just weird. Tonight, I'm winning the Gauntlet match, Sonya says, "and I'll beat you at Clash at the Castle and take the one thing that means the most to you, the SmackDown Women's Championship." So then Aliyah comes out, and that means that for Sonya to actually do that, she would have to go through 6 women in a row here, because this is a 7-woman Gauntlet match starting with Sonya Deville and Aliyah. Both of these women don't have a chance having to go through 6 women. It's almost a very unfair way to figure out a number one contender, but I get what they were thinking. I guess you could have put one more woman in there and had a little mini tournament, but here we are. We have the Gauntlet match. We have seen in the past stars made out of gauntlet matches, such as when Kofi Mania started running wild off of a gauntlet. So that you never know, a gauntlet could be a way to set a career. I also remember Rollins going wild in one and just tearing it up in a gauntlet match before. And Rhea Ripley had a really good showing in a women's gauntlet match on Raw earlier this year, which she unfortunately didn't win. But it's a way that people can be made. So let's see how this goes. 7 women gauntlet match for the number 1 contendership, for a title match for the SmackDown women's title at Clash of the Castle against an seemingly injured Liv Morgan, who wasn't a very tough competitor or champion to begin with. So Sonya starts strong, but Aliyah fires back with a stunner, kind of awkward looking, but maybe it was the camera angle. Then a Lou Thesz press. So Aliyah doing the whole Aliyah 317, doing 2 Austin moves in a row here. Aliyah then hits a springboard move for a 2 count, and the crowd chants Ronda Rousey's name now as Sonia Deville battles back. Sonya just simply hits the Deville's advocate for the 1, 2, 3. So Aliyah gets eliminated right away here, and Raquel Rodriguez runs right down to the ring. So it'll be Raquel would be looking to beat Sonya here for the 2nd time in a row. The last time we saw Raquel, it was beating Sonya in a straight up one-on-one. So Raquel starts strong here, but Sonya slips out of a power slam and chop blocks the knee of Raquel really hard. So Raquel's knee is really hurting now. Then applies a headlock to try and keep the powerful Raquel grounded. Sonya keeps control by slamming down Raquel here and applying another hold. A few chants for Liv Morgan now, as half the crowd, or at least part of the crowd, is a Liv Morgan fan, and the crowd has a buzz over them, like really big buzz, mostly between Liv and Ronda, which I did not expect tonight, but it gave this match a big fight feel because there was a buzz in the crowd. So anyway, Raquel counters a big boot and hits something we'll see a lot is a springboard elbow splash, where she kind of spins off the middle rope with an elbow splash. We'll be seeing a lot of those in this match. Raquel hits the Tejano bomb for the 1, 2, 3, and Sonya Deville already eliminated and not able to do what she just said on the microphone before the match. So Shotzi now comes out, and this is who I either want to win. Either Shotzi or Xia Li is who I was personally rooting for. But then we go to an ad break before Shotzi even gets to the ring, and I was like, damn, hopefully Shotzi isn't eliminated 30 seconds after the ad break. Now, when we come back, it seems as though Shotzi was in control the entire ad break. We probably missed all our offense, and yep, Raquel just hits that spinning elbow splash again into the Tejano bomb for the 1, 2, 3. So just like I figured and feared, we don't even get to see like anything of Shotzi. So Xia Li comes out next, and I'm like, come on, give Xia Li a win here. Xia then hits some big kicks right away, and against the much more tired Raquel here, Xia comes in fresh, hitting a few more kicks. The crowd has a buzz over them, like I said, making it a big fight feel. Raquel is able to get out at a 2 count, but then has a bad knee now that from that chop block earlier. Xia noticed and applies a one-legged Boston Crab. Raquel uses her power advantage to get out, but Xia keeps striking the knee now, breaking the hold, then slapping Raquel in the face. That just fires up Raquel, who hits that elbows or big fall away slam, and then here we go again with the spinning elbow drop Tejano bomb 1, 2, 3. Xia Li has now been eliminated. Raquel has eliminated 3 people as Natalya now runs down. Natalya goes for the sharpshooter right away, but Raquel is able to power out of it and block it. Natalya hits another chop block to the knee of Raquel, slams the knee into the mat, and applies a death lock on the legs while slapping Raquel around. Raquel can't use her power to get out of this version of this hold because Natalya has the advantage on the being on top here, but Natalya's dazed now after a couple big strikes. Raquel gets out, hits a vertical suplex for a 2 count. Natalya's up first and then applies a sharpshooter now. Raquel is trapped in the middle of the ring. However, this hold, she can use her power advantage getting to the ropes quickly, which is fortunately for her, because her knee was a mess already. Natalya now hits mounted corner punches, but Raquel just counters this into a Tejano bomb for the 1, 2, 3. Natalya is eliminated. Our last hope here is Shayna Baszler, who deserves a title shot and also is a favorite of Triple H. Nothing against Raquel. I just feel like it's not really her time yet per se. So this will be a huge, like, Raquel doesn't even have a character, let's be honest. So this will be a huge match here when we come back from the ad break. We've got a one-legged Raquel who should not be able to beat a fresh Shayna Baszler who just happens to be a submission master. So either we're going to get Shayna Baszler who could tear apart Liv's arm at Clash of the Castle, or Raquel will run through 5 women in a row for a title shot. So it'll be big when we come back from the break. Shayna's in control, trying to wear down Raquel even more, working on the arm a little bit too to try and avoid the Tejano bomb later on. So while also pointing at Liv while doing that, saying, I can hurt your arm too, Liv. So Shayna hits a big knee strike for a 2 count. And this is definitely a big moment in both women's careers. I would say a little bit more in Shayna's career because of the fact that she's so much older than Raquel. There's not going to be a lot of chances left for Shayna to have a big run for the title in her career. So this is a big moment here. Raquel then tries that spinning elbow splash that had been effective earlier in the match, but Shayna seemingly was watching and easily counters it into the Karafuda clutch submission hold. Raquel's now able to get to her feet and to the ropes with her power advantage, but is now very dazed. Shayna applies the hold again, but then pins Raquel shoulders to the mat for the 1-2-3. The winner of this gauntlet match and new #1 contender for the SmackDown Women's title is Shayna Baszler. So good showing here from Raquel Rodriguez. She didn't do anything wrong in the match. I know I was rooting against her personally just because I think she doesn't have a character. We already saw her lose in the title match. It'll just be David versus Goliath yet again. But I guess this is another David versus Goliath. Every time Liv steps into the ring, she's the big underdog. So instead, we'll get Shayna Baszler, who will be looking to attack the arm the entire match. That'll be the story of the match. And Shayna Baszler will have a good chance to walk out of Clash at the Castle with the SmackDown Women's title. But this did establish, this was good for Raquel Rodriguez, that she is the person to look out for in the division going into the future, as well as now we have Shayna Baszler with a big title match. Good stuff out of this match. Nothing offensive other than maybe not even getting to see any of Shotzi's offense. So anyway, the biggest news might have been that Liv got booed out of the building. That was a surprise, and it flustered her in her promo. She wasn't expecting it. And Ronda getting cheered by this Greenville, South Carolina crowd without even being in the building. So that was shocking to not only Liv, but me as well. I'm sure maybe some of you, I know that Liv had some haters, me being one of them, really, to be honest. I'm fine with her being the champion per se, but I thought the match at SummerSlam was perfect. Ronda should be dominating Liv, and I'm not a Ronda fan either. She was really boring up until the point at SummerSlam where she told that guy in the crowd to that his parents failed him. So that, I mean, if we're getting that Ronda, then that's all of a sudden exciting. And Ronda should be treated like the Brock Lesnar of the women's division. Now we get basically, I don't know if Brock Lesnar is Ronda, then maybe Shayna Baszler is going to be the new Roman Reigns for the rest of her career. We could be going into a Shayna Baszler era. There could be a year-long title reign leading, or like something long leading up to a Ronda Shayna Baszler match that should be amazing as well. So things to think about. Maybe Liv can get through this latest battle, but going into the match, even though it's a few weeks away at the end of the month, it will be a tough match for Liv Morgan, even if she had a good arm. So good stuff overall. After that, now so let me see here. After that, the Usos then say that they don't need Sami's help anymore. Right after Sami said that he did all the work for the entrance. So if Sami was legitimately making entrance for Roman Reigns later on, like correctly and grandiose, I'm thinking now that Sami got dissed here by the Usos, he might ruin it because the Usos were definitely a-holes. So we go to a commercial break after that. That will be the main event segment, and I could have never guessed what happened. So when we come back now, the Viking Raiders, the new and vicious ones, are making their way to the ring. And I'm not sure if this is a tag match or a singles match against Kofi, because it kind of sounded like Kofi wanted a match against one of them earlier on. But nope, there's 2 jobbers in the ring. Apparently their names are Tommy Gibson and Jim Mulkey, and they are tiny compared to the giant Viking Raiders. So the Viking Raiders absolutely destroy them with many double teams and power moves here. Instead of making the pin, the Vikings just inflict more damage, Both men are absolutely destroyed as the Viking Raiders set up more double teams. Ivar hits a middle rope power slam like a world's strongest slam, and then tags in for another double team. They hit their finisher of one guy onto the other, and the Viking Raiders easily get the 1-2-3 against Tommy Gibson and Jim Mulkey. So that was an amazing squash match, by the way. It only lasted maybe 40 seconds, and it was really fun to watch those double teams and the destruction. So now Kofi Kingston comes from behind with a kendo stick all of a sudden, and Kofi breaks the kendo stick, hits them so many times back and forth that the kendo stick breaks. The Viking Raiders bail out of the ring and say that Kofi's a dead man as we go to an ad break. So if the Viking Raiders haven't destroyed Kofi by the time we get back, it's ridiculous. So at least when we come back, it already turned into a singles match. It'll be Eric, who just wrestled in a tag match, but I mean, he probably broke a sweat, but didn't have any damage to him. And then against Kofi Kingston. So at least it's not ridiculous where for a second I thought the Viking Raiders were just going to leave a 2-on-1 situation where they were the two and they were both the bigger guys. So anyway, thankfully the bell starts this singles match, Eric versus Kofi Kingston. Eric does a great headlock takeover to the nasty knee strike. That's one of his best moves, but we get to see a couple moves that out of his arsenal that we didn't even know he had, or at least we had forgotten about since like New Japan and ROH. So anyway, Kofi strikes his way out of a headlock, then eats a big back elbow. Eric gets another 2 count on that. Ivar's now pacing back and forth, really sweaty from that flurry in the earlier match. Kofi, that's exactly why Eric got the duty to do the second match and not Ivar. Ivar was tired after that. Kofi then counters and hits a crossbody off the top rope for a 2 count. Eric blocks an SOS attempt and then slams Kofi into the hard into the mat. Eric then hits a full Nelson knee strike, which was a nice looking move. Right, that strike hit the back of the neck on Kofi. That gets a 2 count. Kofi then springboards off the second rope for a kick. Then evades an attack that sends Eric into the outside. Kofi hits a trust fall into the outside to both Viking Raiders, but Eric takes control back in the ring. Kofi counters another full Nelson knee strike attempt into a pin for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Kofi Kingston. And so the Viking Raiders win their tag match, but lose the singles match to Kofi right after. Kofi using his agility and experience to win that one without really having to cause too much damage to Eric. Kofi definitely took the more damage, but got the 1-2-3 at the end and avoided any more damage after the match. So we just go to that and I kind of forgot this happened after the big main event news, but Cole announces finally the women's tag team title tournament will start this week on Raw. Holy crap, how many weeks ago was it that Michael Cole told us that Sasha Banks and Naomi were unprofessional and we will soon have a tag team title match? I think that was tournament. And then I think that was about 2 months ago. So holy crap. Anyway, Triple H got in charge just in time to save the women's division and maybe all of WWE for all of us fans that love wrestling. So I'm sure it's going to have a few surprises, maybe an NXT call-up, maybe the former champions coming to take their titles back, Sasha and Naomi, who are rumored to have agreed to come back. So this tag team titles tournament for the women's tag team titles starting on Raw should be epic, and I'm really looking forward to it now that we have a great women's division all of a sudden with Triple H in charge. So now it's time for the main event. As if that news wasn't big enough, there's even, well, I wouldn't say bigger news, but equally bigger and maybe more shocking, because we figured Triple H would now reinstate the tag team titles. The shocking thing is just Triple H taking over in period. This guy that was brought in as the doing curtsies with harpsichord music back when I was watching him, now running the show. So Roman Reigns comes out. He's got special lasers and stuff like that. Sami Zayn doing what he was told, giving Roman Reigns a better entrance here. So no funny business has happened so far as Sami Zayn making, I don't know what would have happened, like clown noises, or who could have known, but at least Vince is in charge, so we know it wasn't going to be like green gunk falling on them and stuff like that. So they get to the ring, the Bloodline does, and we go to an ad break. No Paul Heyman this week after those attacks at SummerSlam. So when we come back, we see a nice highlight video of Gunter. That's the hype is for next week's Intercontinental Championship match. Gunter defending against Shinsuke Nakamura in Raleigh, North Carolina on SmackDown next week, just up the road from Greenville, South Carolina, where they are tonight. So Roman and Usos are now still in the ring. They get a big fireworks display now, again, thanks to Sami Zayn doing something nice for them earlier. Roman then takes the time to soak all this in and says, "Acknowledge me." And I can't quite tell if the crowd likes Roman or not, but it might be a little bit split down the middle. But then they do cheer Roman here. So Roman says, "I accomplished a lot. First of all, I conquered Brock Lesnar. I hate Brock Lesnar, but I respect that man. But still, I hate Brock Lesnar. It's not why you think. It's because he tried to kill the wise man. And as you can see, we don't have our special counsel here. He took an F5 through a table and was sent to a hospital." One of those banned words that Vince wouldn't allow before. It had to be local medical facility. So just little things like that, and now show you Vince is gone. So Roman continues saying, "I want to send prayers to the wise man." Then gets interrupted by Drew McIntyre, who calls Roman a weird name here, which I'm not gonna I'm not gonna repeat, but I did not expect Drew to say that word that starts with a Q after calling Roman Reigns that. So Roman basically says Drew McIntyre basically says, "We don't have to wait until Clash at the Castle. If you want, I can tear the entire bloodline apart right now. And then let me hear you scream, people, if you want to hear that," basically. So then the big news, I'm sure you guys have all heard, but not your mind is about to be blown, because all of a sudden the familiar music hits. Fog fills the room. Everything goes to black and white. So Sami Zayn it clearly helped out with this, with his whole entrance thing, and then the Usos were mean to him and then causing him to ruin this. So black and white, smoke, this familiar music. Then Scarlett comes out, and it is the return of Karrion Kross, the former NXT champion, who had to put on a weird helmet when Vince got his hands on him and lost to Jeff Hardy in his first match, and was released from WWE within a month being on the Raw roster. Karrion Kross has returned. He attacks Drew McIntyre from behind, taking Drew McIntyre out. Scarlett Bordeaux is now near the ring. She puts the hourglass in the ring next to the bloodline, with the sand of time pouring out on the bloodline's title reigns as SmackDown ends. Wow. So I figured we were going to see more and more of these. The first shot was fired at SummerSlam with Dakota Kai returning. So now we've got our second and third return with Scarlett Bordeaux and Karrion Kross returning. They've got the full original gimmick that we haven't seen on the main roster. They've got the original NXT gimmick with the black and white, the song, the whole deal. Scarlett Bordeaux making her main roster debut tonight, because they didn't even bring her up with Karrion Kross the first time. So this is for the third day this is the second person I've seen from MLW that was about to sign a contract. When you go with Major League Wrestling MLW, you have to sign a contract that's exclusive to them. We saw that Mance Warner will be fighting on Rampage tonight, but this is Karrion Kross, who was about to sign with MLW, but again, Triple H getting empowered just in time, not only to save the women's division and the tag division in particular, but able to save Karrion Kross from signing who knows how long of a contract with MLW, 1, 2, 3 years. Who knows what it could have been, but this is just a huge example of Triple H getting empowered just in time. Now he's been able to get Karrion Kross back before going to MLW. No offense to MLW, but they are a company who runs one show a month, just like Impact, and then tapes their shows and shows it on YouTube they may have one monthly event stretch out the 4 weekly television shows for 1 hour. So that's great news. Karrion Kross has set his sights on Roman Reigns, of all people, and the rest of the bloodline. Who knows if there's going to be more with them, because the Usos were there too. You never know if there's going to be a tag team that joins them at a point, some kind of new stable. There's no telling what's going to happen in WWE. You never know when you turn on anymore who's going to show up. I was there in the Monday Night Wars, and I know how cool it was. The coolest part of the Monday Night Wars was the fact that you didn't know who was going to show up from what company. Now that it looks like it's back, because of the fact that there's a huge bidding war between AEW and WWE, who both have money but both have different things to offer for people. Maybe you want to have like this or that. Maybe you were a Triple H guy or weren't. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of snagging up of free agents. It looks like maybe AEW got snagged up Mance Warner before signing the MLW. At the same time, WWE signed Karrion Kross back before he signed a contract to MLW. So they're going to be seeing a lot of this. You have no idea who's going to tune in each and every show, making WWE really exciting and AEW even more exciting than it was. So this is a great time to be a wrestling fan, great time to give me a subscribe, because I'll be following it all, as well as the New Japan, MLW, NWA, and Impact, just to see what kind of big name free agents come next. Like, you don't know, like maybe next week Motor City Machine Guns show up on Raw, like something crazy like that. Like, you don't know who's signed to a contract. I don't think Impact really has people signed to, like, I think most of the Impact people are signed to per contract deal. So this might be the end of Impact. And Tony Khan threw big shade to Impact the other day, saying, oh, for the first time, there's a bidding war for free agents in 20 years, saying that all the people like Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe and AJ Styles who did sign contracts to stay in TNA, maybe in the Abyss as well, like those people weren't worth anything. And now I agree. As much as I was a TNA fan, this is the first time in 20 years that there's a legitimate free agent battle, and we're going to see it go down throughout the next couple months with all the free agents coming out of the Rebel. I don't know what's going to happen. Is the NWA going to be picked over? Is Impact going to be picked over? Is MLW going to have to shut down? We don't know who is going to get snagged up as free agents. The rosters might balloon in the next few days. Few months. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. Hopefully not too many companies get affected, and there's still, I definitely know by following the indies as closely as I can while covering mainstream, as much as you want to count NWA and Impact as mainstream. But you know what I mean? I don't have enough time to follow the indies, but there is a lot of people still in the indies that can come fill in roster spots at Impact and NWA, making both of those companies better, in my opinion. Just for example, we've seen Pac go and defend the All Atlantic title in Europe against 3 straight 23-year-old prodigies who are like 8-year veterans already at 23 years old, and they're all amazing. The last one was this guy named Connor Mills, who basically it was a mirror match for Pac. Basically, he's a mini Pac who doesn't have as much muscle. So there is a great prodigy lineup for men and women that are around 22, 23. I think they could fill Impact, NWA, and MLW, making those companies even better than they already are now, because those guys are prodigies and really good. A lot of them are 200 plus matches, 300 plus matches at 23 already. So in the meantime, WWE and AEW is going to snag up all these free agents, and it's going to be great. So and you never know, like for instance, we got maybe The Rock coming back. We've got a potential Batista, John Cena one more time, like Robinson's over here saying. So you don't know what's going to happen, what kind of people in Triple H's past maybe could come back, and maybe people that hate Triple H are never going to sign. This looks even more like MJF would want to come to WWE when his contract goes up, but people like Adam Cole and recently signed people like maybe a Swerve and a Keith Lee have signed 5-year contracts to AEW. So it's going to be a huge thing where people are contracts again. And this is exactly, I'm telling you, I was there watching the Monday Night Wars live. That's exactly what made everything special. And, you know, it's not just, oh, who's going to be the next to leave here and go there, or who's going to be signed from this company and blah, blah, blah. And there's always surprises. And that it's not just that. It forces everybody to step up their game because they want to keep people in their company. So that's the whole reason that Vince McMahon had a good WWE in the past, because he had competition. Now that it was 20 years plus, with no offense to TNA, which I was a huge fan of, and I tried pumping as much money as I could into, but they made too many bad decisions and were never really a competition. AEW is a competition now, with the ability to pay people the exact kind of money that Triple H might pay them as well. So it's going to be interesting, very, very special times going forward. We don't know what's going to happen. I still feel like I want a different company for the women, to have like an all-star women's company and their own show, but maybe we'll get that in WWE WWE or AEW. Maybe Rampage will turn into All Elite Women, and we'll start to get that. So it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan for sure. I'm covering like G1, New Japan. They've got good stuff going on there. Some of their like young lions look great. Again, another good crop of youngsters from 20 to 25 coming up in the wrestling business. And they've got like 39-year-olds turning in the 40s that look like they're 25 with all the things in wrestling today that's like medical science that seemingly look at Rey Mysterio's knees after the stem cell research. Rey Mysterio's out there running around like he's 39 and he's really like in his 50s and been doing this for over 30 years, and as a luchador, a small guy. So if that can happen with the stem cell research from Ray, think about the next 10, 15, 20 years of wrestling. You're going to have this crop of talent that's now through medical science maybe able to wrestle at a high level. I'm not talking like the stuff we saw Christian versus Matt Hardy where they kind of ruin their bodies too much in the hardcore matches, but we might have a good crop of 40, 45-year-olds now competing against 25-year-olds that are really good as well, then able to give them knowledge and stuff. We've already seen this develop in AEW. I'm sure we'll see it develop in WWE as we go. People like AJ Styles, I'm sure is training some of the younger people on the WWE roster before shows and stuff like that, showing them tricks here and there or when they're in the ring together. So this is going to be an exciting time. Maybe somebody like AJ Styles still has a couple 5 more years in his prime left, because like I'm talking with the medical science nowadays. So it's a good time to be alive. A good time to be a wrestling fan. We could watch it wherever we want. You could watch a lot of it for free. I know some of you like myself aren't like making tons of money and it's hard out there, but there are ways to follow this stuff for free. I'm not advocating piracy or anything like that, but a lot of shows are on YouTube and a lot of shows are like free on different things, so we can find different shows here and there and stuff like that. It's just a great time to be alive. If you have the money, definitely pump it into some of the smaller companies when you can. I know times are tough, or go to some of your indie promotions where it's your local guys. That's the backbone of the industry, all those people in the very small indies, maybe in your smaller towns. So try and support people by doing that. And in the meantime, we could just sit back and enjoy some good wrestling again. And it's going to be great. So I'm going to get going there. I have a lot to cover. I lost power for 20 hours, so I still need to put out an Impact review, but I will be putting out a Rampage review later tonight. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. And right after this, if you're interested, I'll be covering NXT Level Up from tonight. So I'm going to end this video and start a second video about NXT Level Up. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks for the comments, Robertson, and I'll talk to you guys again real soon. Have a good weekend. Peace.